There could be as many as 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round as the Combine gets started next week in Indianapolis. Hello from the Broncos Media Center. I'm Phil Milani alongside Matt Boyer and Steve Atwater. Let's go through these quarterbacks who could be taken in the first round. The number one guy on a lot of draft boards is Dwayne Haskins. Matt, what do you think about him? Do you think he could be there for the Broncos at 10?
It's very possible. There's a small sample size of Dwayne Haskins. That's really the big knock on him. Only 14 games as a starter, 22 games total in college. But man, the big arm. I mean, really nice touch on the deep balls. You know, a 70% completion percentage, 50 touchdowns. Steve, we didn't see him make a lot of the intermediate throws, you know, those out routes to the sideline. But this guy has athleticism and a lot of talent.
Yeah, he throws a beautiful pass. He's calm back there in the pocket. Now, he hasn't been pressured a ton, and he's really effective at throwing the ball when he doesn't have pressure in his face. I think he has a ton of potential. But the only thing is he's only done it for 1 year. That's the thing that when I think about it, I want to see guys who have got at least 2 good years in, then I'd be ready to go with them. But for me right now, I'd have to pass on him at this point just because of the lack of experience and knowing how important this position is.
Very interesting. A lot of people have him number 1 on their boards, and it's all but certain that he'll be the first Big Ten quarterback taken in the first round since Kerry Collins in 1995. Guys, let's move on. Drew Lock, the next quarterback on a lot of people's list, 6'4", 225 pounds, pretty much prototypical size. Guys like John Elway love that.
Could have played college basketball. Super athletic, 63% completion percentage. He falls off some of the throws that he makes down the field, but really, really athletic. Likes to stand in the pocket. And Steve, you saw it at the Senior Bowl, the swagger. Yeah. You know, as soon as he steps into the huddle, guys focus in on him, and he really does a nice job, you know, kind of directing people where to go.
Yeah, he doesn't have that Baker Mayfield-ish swagger,
no.
but similar. Yeah, one of the things that I'd heard prior to going to the Senior Bowl was that he was not a vocal leader, and I didn't get that at all from seeing him interact with the guys on the field, how he was handling the huddle. It seemed like he's a great leader on the field, and then he did a great job at his press conferences as well. I think he's going to have a very successful career at this next level, and I like the fact that he's had 4 years of college and he's been through the ups and the downs. And
I also think that he's unique in the fact that you can put him in multiple systems. I don't know if you can do that with Dwayne Haskins. He's very much an RPO style guy, but Locke really does he can make all of the throws and really could have success under center or in the shotgun.
Some comparisons with Locke to Matt Stafford, Jay Cutler. I think anybody would be happy with that kind of production.
We'll take that,
right there. Speaking of the Senior Bowl, the MVP of the Senior Bowl, Daniel Jones out of Duke, also prototypical size, 6'5", 220. Maybe not with the number 10 pick, though.
No, but, if you could get him in the second round, you definitely take that. Here's a guy who, the pedigree from Duke, Dave Cutcliffe, Peyton Manning's mentor, we've seen what he can do. You really see some of those Peyton Manning intangibles, the footwork, the reads, the progressions, the pre-snap stuff. I think that he has the potential to be a top-tier quarterback in this league, but Steve, right now it's hard to forecast that.
Yeah, I think eventually he could become a very good quarterback. Somebody may hit on them. During the week of practice that we got a chance to see at the Senior Bowl, he wasn't nearly as impressive as Drew Lock was. And some of the passes were sailing on him. But that doesn't mean he's not going to have success at the next level. But I think at the number 10 spot, I think you got to go with a more sure thing, and for me, it's not Daniel Jones. If we can pick him up in the second round, I would love to have him on the team. If he's already good in the pocket, won MVP of that Senior Bowl game, which hey, a lot of people say that's where it counts, is in the game.
Maybe
not
about
that game.
Yeah, not that exactly. And now, how about the wild card for this? The one player who could really throw some draft boards all into whack, Kyler Murray, the Heisman winner from last season.
I mean, you just look at the highlights, and he's got all of the throws, but the speed for me is key. I mean, when he hits the hole, it looks like Phillip Lindsay. All right, it looks like a running back, cutting it to the outside. He does a really, really nice job, dictating that offense. Steve, I think that in order to draft this guy, I don't know how many systems he would fit. You really have to be all in on this guy.
Yeah, you have to be committed to saying, all right, we're going to be an RPO team a good period of time now. I would imagine that he would win a lot of football games if a team decided to go that route. But at the same time, you're going to put your quarterback, Kyler Murray, at risk for injury because teams are going to try and tee off on him And at this level, you have guys who have speed. You have linebackers and defensive linemen as fast as some of the defensive backs in college. So I don't think over the long term that's going to be a recipe for success. I think eventually he's going to have to be able to throw the ball from the pocket, which he did extremely well at Oklahoma. He threw the ball well from the pocket, and he was effective at running the ball. Very unique combination, but I still think that the size is going to affect where he goes in this draft. And we'll see if somebody decides to flip a coin and take a chance with him.
Let's send things over to our draft expert, Andrew Mason. Mesa, who do you see the Broncos taking with that 10th overall pick?
You have to start with Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State. 50 touchdowns, 8 interceptions last year, but the biggest number on him, 70%. That's his completion percentage. He is the most accurate of the first-round quarterbacks that you're talking about in this year's draft. The knock on Dwayne Haskins, it's the lack of experience. He only started this past season for Ohio State, but that's very similar to what was said about Mitchell Trubisky back in 2017 when he went to the Chicago Bears, and he's worked out well. I think with time, Dwayne Haskins, an accurate quarterback, he can work out well also. Now you move on to Missouri's Drew Lock. The Broncos got to look at him down at the Senior Bowl in January. Of course, John Elway and his staff was down there. Now, Drew Lock, he's a guy who fits the template if the Broncos choose to follow the template of last year's draft. Played out his eligibility at Mizzou, graduate, team captain for the Tigers, and as he showed this past season especially, and even down at the Senior Bowl, a pretty good leader in the huddle and on the field. The question about Drew Lock, accuracy. He didn't have a 60% season until his senior year, but if he can get his footwork right, he can be a quality NFL quarterback, guys.
Thank you very much, Mace. So Mace pretty much agrees with me, Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock. Great minds think.
He didn't agree with us.
Yeah. Just Phil. It's just Phil.
Exactly. Let's get a final thought here. We're going to find out more from these guys next week at the Combine. Yeah. But as it sits right now, do you agree with how we've ranked these guys?
I think so. I think, Drew Lock and Dwayne Haskins are going to be competing for that number 1 spot unless somebody falls in love with Kyler Murray. I think that if a team wants to say, okay, this guy is super talented, we're going to dictate our entire offense around him, he could go within the top 5, the top 10. But from my take, Steve, I think it's going to be between Haskins and Lock at the Combine.
Yeah, so do I. And then, kind of when you look at the numbers on the page, of course, Dwayne Haskins has great amazing numbers numbers that jump off the page. Drew Lock, just the consistency that he's had over the years. For me, it's Drew Lock, especially if we can get him at that 10 position. Or I would even be willing to move up to just say the 5th or 6th spot, but not much further than that. I'm not willing to go up to 2 or 3.
All right, that's going to do it for our Combine preview of the quarterback position. We will have wall-to-wall coverage from Indianapolis starting next Wednesday, and you can also catch Steve Atwater, Andrew Mason, and Ryan Edwards on Orange and Blue 760. First and 10 at 10 to 1 Mountain Time, and also catch them on TV on Channel 20.
Oh, no.
Yeah, TV, yeah.
You guys are on sometimes.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Steve Atwater, Matt Boyer, I'm Phil Milani. We'll see you next week from Indianapolis.
And Indy.